Good morning. This is Tom Broussard. It is Tuesday, August 13th. This is another installment of my video work. In this particular time, and this particular topic is another auditorial function deficit. When I had my stroke and aphasia, and probably with you too, we get described our deficits in big big ideas of we've lost our language. Maybe you can't read, write, or speak well. But we didn't really find out the details of each of these deficits. And over time, I did a lot of work trying to study my deficits, what was wrong with these different symptoms that didn't even appear as if they were symptoms for a long time, until I could start hearing them over and over and over and said, okay, that is a problem I am having. Other people can't understand it, can't do what I'm not able to do. I should study this and understand. And in my particular case, this is something called informational capacity deficit. It does happen often with people with aphasia, and it's a very interesting, and I'll call it unique, but it's probably not so unique. You probably have it. A lot of people might have it and still not know what it's called, nor necessarily whether the clinicians have also been able to understand the symptoms well enough to describe that symptom as something for you. So this is an informational capacity deficit. And what happened with me was I was just lucky. I was a volunteer at a local hospital, and I was a transporter, and we would get the call to go pick somebody up, and when we called, the computer would get back to us and tell us the name and the room number, but it didn't come back and say like my name. They didn't call and say pick up Tom Broussard. I could understand that. They would say pick up TOMBROUSSARD. It takes a long time, and it turned out that as I was trying to listen to that, I could hear those words, but I couldn't write them down at the same time. So I would end up being too confused. I actually couldn't hear what was said, so I would often say T-O, run out of time, and then start, B-R. I'd start writing that, and then get confused again, and I ended up putting on dashes that would end with RD. I write down RD. So it turns out that I was having a difficulty trying to understand what was said to me, and I studied the literature and found out about this deficit, about informational capacity deficit, when in fact you cannot hear, you cannot process both hearing it and writing it at the same time when you have this kind of issue. And in my case, in giving you this example, what happened to be a perfect example, because if it hadn't been for me being put into this environment, I would never have known that I had this deficit. I might have understood it a few times. If somebody from the bank is calling me and wants me to do one thing or another, I would have to ask them to go slower, and but still not know that I actually had this particular deficit that has an awful lot to do with being unable to hear, basically receive and process the information that you otherwise would like to write, but still cannot do it. And it turns out that that this information capacity deficit is one of the auditorial function deficits of people with aphasia. So that's an interesting thing. Read about it. You'll see it on my website, and you'll see the article on my my own website later today. So check that out. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you have other deficits of which you're not quite aware of, and we can study that and see what is going on. Thank you very much. Nice to see all you guys. See you next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye.